Alright, here we go. On Friday, I had you guys at the website, and we finished our Pop Mentos Lab, and you guys started your first chemistry lab template. So I'm going to open up a few things and make sure we're all on track and give you a little bit more help. Alright, from the website, open up the Chem Lab template, make a copy, make sure you put your name in here. Chem Lab, and we're going to get rid of that. Pop demo. Okay. And now you see it opens up a new tab. I'm going to close this tab so I don't confuse myself. I'm also going to open up our data. Same thing, file, make a copy. Put your name in here so you guys know whose it is. Alright, so first thing, add your name, put the date in. And we're going to get rid of lab title. Pop Mentos Lab. Observations. We did these last Thursday in class. Get rid of the type here. Keep everything that's dark and bolded in print. And you're just going to write down all your observations. For this first one, you can make a bolded list. If you'd like to, I'm not quite sure where that is. If you want to even just number them, that's fine. But you can number your observations that we made. I do want you guys to have at least 5 different observations because we made plenty. Anytime where it says type here, you're going to get rid of that. For scientific question, make sure you are using full sentences. And make sure you do state your hypothesis. Independent, dependent variable, same thing. We're going to put a full sentence here. Dependent, there's more than one. You got to tell me all 3 things that we are measuring. Let's talk a little bit today about an if-then statement for a hypothesis. So we'll always say if our independent does something, then our dependent will do one of these 2 things, increase or decrease. So for this one, there's a number of different things you guys can make a hypothesis on. We could say if we change the type of pop that we use, then the Sprite would have, now for increase decrease, we could use other words also. We could say the longest time of all the pops. There's one if then statement. We could say if we change all the type of pop we use, if we change the type of pop we use, then the Diet Coke will have the highest explosion out of all the pops. But our hypothesis is what we're going to test, so it does have to match up with your question, and then we do have to have data that supports or rejects it, because later you're going to have to state whether your hypothesis is correct or wrong. I want everybody in here to make 2 different hypotheses. They don't have to be right, you don't have to already look at the data, but right now I do want everyone to add 2 for the simple experiment. And I want them to have the if, then, and increase, decrease, and for this one it could be the highest, longest, shortest, any of those kind of things. Hi. Hi. Alright. Alright, so, yep, make sure you guys have 2 hypotheses in there. Materials. Create a bulleted list of all materials used in the experiment. And I do mean everything. Think about everything that you used in your group, including the pop and the Mentos. Give me a bulleted list or just number them right down here. There are a number of things that we used. If you're missing any of them, that will be points off. For experimental procedure, create a numbered list of every step of the experiment. Each step must be in a complete sentence. So, first thing we did, honestly, put everything in here. Tell me what we collected, tell me what we measured, You don't have to say who did what, but do put all the different steps that you did. And a lot of these were done at the same time. And yeah, useful sentences. All right, data and graphs. For data, for this I just want you guys to copy and paste. So we're gonna have to kind of play around with this. Right here is our first one. This is our volume. And as we can see, our Diet Pepsi had the least amount in there, so it's the most reactive. So we're going to grab that. Once again, for copying, click in the middle of the cell, hold your left button down and drag it over, Control C, or you can also go to copy. Right click and copy. Either one works. Go back here, and we're going to paste that in there. To paste, you can right click and hit paste, or you can hit Control V. Now we need to name this. So this is the volume of pop left in the container after chemical reaction. Okay? And, nope, we don't want to do that. I messed up, so I'm going to fix that. I'm going to hit the undo button. Same thing, you're going to copy the next one here. Make sure you name them. We'll measure our height and our time. If we look at our data, we can see that Diet Pepsi had the highest height, and Pepsi looked like it took longer, but we had a lot of volume left over still. Okay. All right, so let's work on our graphs, because I think this is where people are gonna kind of get stuck. But we should have 3 of these in there. All right, so for graphs, if we graph the entire thing like this, and we already use bar graphs for this, that does not look pretty. There's way too much stuff going on here. This is not easy to read. It does not help us out. So we just want these numbers. So I want to grab just those 4. Now, if I grab just those 4, nothing's labeled up here, which is also a problem. So what we need is this and this next to each other. So what we're going to do is on row 6, I'm going to right click. I want to insert one above. I'm going to grab these 4. I'm going to copy it, which is Control C. You get used to doing that. And then Control V. And that's what I want to graph, all of this. I grab these 8 boxes, go to graphing. I don't know what this is. There we go. Okay. We have our Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, Sprite, Pepsi Max. Okay. Go back to your rules, graphing rules, and we do have to do these 10 things for our graph. So on here, we do have to give it a title. And if I just go to Insert, right here, we can name Pop Volume. We can left click over here, name that. We have our units, make sure it looks pretty, we're all set. Once you have all those things in there, make sure you click in the right place. We don't want this highlighted, we don't want this highlighted, or this, or this. We want the whole graph, which usually if you grab up here, you're good. We want to copy chart. Okay, so right in that little corner, that guy, copy chart. Paste. Oh, look at that. Nice graph. We're going to have 3 of those, so I'll be titled, they'll all have a title, they'll all have labeled, and we'll be good. So we'll have 3 graphs in there, we'll have our 3 charts, and all this stuff filled out. Alright, conclusions, things you need to state. Restate your hypotheses. And once again, we do have 2 of those, so you're going to restate both of those. Describe how the data supports or rejects your hypothesis. This is important. If your hypothesis says, I think that Sprite is going to have the largest explosion, this does not support that. Your hypothesis would be wrong, because this is all the pop that left the build. This is what's left in there still. Okay, so just so we understand with volume, this guy here, our Diet Pepsi, this had the least amount left in the bottle. So this, and we got to go back to our number, we would say something like Diet Pepsi only had 218.75 milliliters left, which supports our hypothesis that it had the largest explosion. If your hypothesis said that you thought Pepsi Max was, that would be wrong, because it's right here in green in the middle. It's nice and easy to read. If you thought Sprite would be the least reactive, and that's your hypothesis, right here, this supports it. Most of the Sprite was still left in the bottle because it had 281 milliliters still in there. Okay? If you need help with those, but you have to use data, I'm going to be looking for numbers. You can use time, volume, or the third one we measured, which was height. Any three of those things. Okay? But you do have to state two hypotheses and tell me if they are right or wrong using numbers. Number 3, include specific numbers from your data to support what you said about the data. That's what I just said with number 2. Discuss any possible sources of error that may have given you false data. So for this one, tell me if anything went wrong or if you just knew something was incorrect, and do list something. So maybe not everyone measured the same way. That kid on the end drank all the pop before we measured it. Okay? Make sure you spell everything right. Discuss suggestions that will talk about what you would do if you were to repeat the experiment. How would you change it to make sure the data is correct? What would you test, a different hypothesis or an independent variable? We're going to change this for this one. For this, how can we make it better? Okay, so you have to list at least, I want on here just one way to improve this experiment. And for this one, we're going to add a sixth thing. So on our sixth thing that I want you to add into this is, why did this happen? Okay? So I want you guys to tell me a little bit about this chemical reaction. So what we need to do then is go to the World Wide Web. And up here, we're going to why Diet Pepsi Mentos explode. Okay? See how that popped up right there? That means it's something that people searched for. Let's hit enter. Diet Coke is Mentos eruption. Wikipedia. Good place to start. Reaction between the carbonated beverage Coca-Cola's Diet Coke and Mentos candies that caught the beverage spray out of its container. Causes... Mythbusters concludes potassium benzoate, aspartame, and CO2 gas contained in the Diet Coke in combination with gelatin and gum arabic ingredients of the Mentos all contribute to the formation of the foam. Okay? Right there, that's something you can quote. We still need a little bit more than that, and you're going to have to go to one or two more sites. I do want you guys to find what's reacting in here. So why do we have this giant geyser over here, or this? Okay? So take a look. That's the first site I just looked at. But you have plenty of things on here. Why does explode? Why do Mentos explode? Why does Coke or Pepsi explode when Mentos is put into it? There's plenty of things that you can look and I'm going to say, let's go back. For this, give me 3 to 4 sentences that explain what's going on there. Okay? And then we'll be on with our lab reports. So we're going to finish this up Monday. You guys will be able to edit it home Tuesday night. It's going to be due Wednesday. Okay? So if you have any questions, we're all set.